have to change the wording of that up a little bit, but okay.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to raise the arm when we start. And then Michaela will know.
Oh, dude, it erased everything.
Oh, shit.
Hold on. Forget it.
You shoot from the hip on that
I think
one?
so.
Okay.
You can raise your hand? Or what is it? Okay. Wait a minute. I'm asking you, did you know? Or do you want me to ask?
I think, did you know?
So what, from your experience, aren't I asking you, or is it not interview
I'm just trying to think
style?
of, a hook for it.
Okay. I got it. Ready? Dave, tell us how insurance companies make decisions about settling claims. Do they get personal? Do they determine who their claimant is? And okay, like that?
Yeah.
Okay. Dave, tell us from your experience how insurance companies settle claims. Do they determine who the person is making the claim and whether or not they want to go against them? If they're financially affluent, would they settle a different way than someone who might be poor and not have the resources?
I've seen that exact example, actually, where I've seen insurance companies take two identical insurance claims and they pay one and they deny the other on the sole basis of the financial worth of those individuals. You took, a very affluent, actually the individual was a lawyer and a judge, and then the other family was a very lower income individuals. Identical claims, they paid one because they knew that those people could pursue them legally, and they denied the other one. And that was kind of the big reason why we started Property Claims Consultant. We couldn't handle that.
Yeah, that's a big difference.
And if Travelers sees that one, they'll know exactly what claim it is. It's funny because Casey sold that claim.
No way.
Yeah. Okay, so let's try that again.
All right. So, Dave, tell us from your experience, do insurance companies... okay, hold on. So, Dave, from your experience, do insurance companies settle claims differently depending upon who the insured is making the claim? Like, if there's an affluent family that has a lot of resources, do they settle that claim differently than maybe someone who doesn't have those kind of resources or a poor family?
They absolutely do. And I've seen it firsthand where an insurance company has taken a different approach and settled a claim more favorably on the side of a more affluent family versus a lower income, socioeconomic, kind of lower class person. And they actually ran the net worths of these people and made the sole decision on very similar claims, kind of similar facts around them, but they made the decision to pay this claim because they had more financial resources to pursue the insurance company versus the other instance where you had a lower income family that didn't really have the resources to pursue it. It's really, really sad.
Wow. And is that is it in secret? Is it legal? How does it
it's kind of behind the scenes. I think a lot of the conversations that they have are verbal conversations, so it's not a discoverable type conversation in a court of law. And again, this is all law world that I'm not totally familiar with, but yeah, you actually saw them make a decision on the sole basis of the financial worth of the individuals.
Wow. Prejudice in the claims world.
Yeah. I like that. Do you want to add, is there another way?
I don't have anything on that one. That's a big one.
Try and just do it. Ken, it's been crazy what I've seen with the insurance world. Nope, that's not it. I wanted to say, did you know that insurance companies have Did you know that insurance companies actually make decisions on your outcome of your insurance claim on a basis of your financial worth? I've seen it time in and time out where people get a claim denied and some people get claims paid, and the insurance companies have actually pulled their net worths and seen how affluent these individuals are and the resources they have to pursue them legally. And the insurance companies know that. They know that your income is X. They know that your family members, X, Y, and Z, live in the household, and they know what sort of resources you have.
Yeah, a lot of the rules that are made are almost disadvantaged people that don't have the resources or the funds to do stuff. And I think it's obvious when you're in this business a long time, you hear the same type of claim handled completely differently in a different different company. And you say to yourself, why isn't it fair? There's a lot of other things going on in the background.
Yeah. Did you know that a lot of these insurance companies know if you have a smaller claim, it's more difficult for you to pursue them legally? If you have a $20,000 claim, not many attorneys will take that on a contingency basis to pursue the insurance company legally. They know that these attorneys that do fight for the homeowners, they need a big chunk of change still left on the table to pursue, because through the legal battle and the hiring of experts and things like that, it'll cost people 10, 15, 20, 30, $50,000 just to hire an expert to fight on their behalf. The insurance companies know that. That's what we're here for.
And to that point, a lot of attorneys know they're not going to take a claim knowing what they're going to get treated like in the legal world with the insurance company. They take them through the water, and they take them out to the deep end. And I've spoken to an attorney the other day. He says, fighting a couple of these insurance companies is getting harder and harder, and we're not taking cases unless certain criteria are met, and that leaves a lot of the smaller, more vulnerable people with less options to pursue.
Did you know that the Department of Insurance does not opine on the financial outcome of an insurance claim?
Yeah.
They actually, their only regulatory control or involvement in insurance claims is actually how the claim is being handled. So it may not be that, oh, Ken had a claim, it's worth $50,000. The insurance company paid them $5,000, and when you file a complaint with the Department of Insurance, they might actually not do anything. They only get involved when there's bad claim handling practices, and some things, examples of that are not responding to correspondence in a certain time frame, not paying a claim in a certain time frame, but there's no clear, detailed information as to how much or why or how they come to that number. It's just paying the claim or not paying the claim.
Yeah, and a lot of people that seek the department's help don't realize that the way you were treated in a claim is not necessarily what the department is going to get involved with.
Yeah.
You may have been treated horribly, but that doesn't mean it's a violation. It just feels bad as a business practice, and the department doesn't get involved in those things. And they don't really help you, like you said, settle a claim outright. That's not their job. Their job is to make sure there's no violations of the code, and that's pretty wide sometimes.
Yeah. I've actually had Department of Insurance, I think they're called adjusters, say, yeah, you should just tell that client to reach out and hire a public adjuster or an attorney.
Yeah. I had a client say that they were referred by the Department of Insurance. They said, we can't help you. Maybe a public adjuster could.
Yeah.
And, so.
That's actually a good one to say is, let's see, how could I ask that question? Ken, what is your experience dealing with the Department of Insurance and the claims and clients that you've helped?
Yeah, the Department of Insurance is there to help basically determine if there was a violation of the code. There's various codes that insurance companies have to adhere to in the claims practice, and they are not allowed to really get involved in the settlement of your claim or the details of what would be fair in a settlement of the claim. They're there to determine to the insurance company, did they operate fairly, and did they respond the right way? Did they make sure they were adhering to all the codes and ethics that your state particularly signed up for? They don't get involved in the settlement. If it's low, it's not their prerogative to figure out if you were denied. That's a contractual thing. An insurance company will say, hey, we don't cover slab leaks, and that's why we denied. And if you seek the Department of Insurance, they're not going to get involved in that. That has to do with the contract of the insurance agreement that you signed up for. So they're not always helpful in that. They're helpful in other ways. And so a lot of people will find public adjusters is more helpful because we get into the nitty-gritty of the claim itself, which is what 90% of people are looking for. They're looking for somebody with some expertise to get involved to get them a better result, rather than to nail an insurance company on a violation, which the department would be there for that.
Yeah.
So
if you have to step out, you can go for it, man.
Okay.
Yeah, because they're just on rolling, right?
Yeah, it's always on one. I was waiting until you guys had a
Moment.
moment. Yeah.
Cool, man. Yeah. Give us, are you just going kind of next door to your other office?
Yeah.
Okay. I think the other guy will be here in 30. If you want to just let us kind of fire away for the next 30 minutes or so.
Yeah.
And then just to kind of come back and make sure he's all hooked up.
Okay. Sounds
Come in.
I'll be in and out.
Okay.
Oh, let me ask you about Zactimate.
Okay.
Dave, there's this software that has been percolating that. Dave, there's this software called Zactimate that the insurance companies use to help them determine what your value of your claim is and your repair costs. People are finding more and more about what that is. Can you tell us a little bit about what that is and how it works?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the best way to look at Xactimate is it's a tool for settling claims. It's not the answer. And what I point out to people is if you were to take 5 different people who were familiar with writing the system and they were to write an estimate, they would come up with drastically different numbers. And I think that's where you get tied up in the insurance claims process, is that people think, oh, he's going to write my estimate in Xactimate, it's going to be fair. And it's like, no, it can be all over the spectrum of whether it's high, low, medium, everything. So I think that's where we excel in is bringing in knowledgeable people who know how to write Xactimate that plays to your advantage and settles the claim in the right manner and financial outcome that it should be. So again, Xactimate's just a tool, and it's not always the answer for settling a claim. I mean, Xactimate doesn't have a lot of these high-end specific things that you'd see in higher-end homes, coastal communities, things like that. You know, you might have a builder grade cabinet, but you might have a high-end custom marble finish on top of the cabinets, and Xactimate doesn't always capture that. And so again, I say it's a tool, but it's not the solution.
Yeah, there's a lot of creativity in how you apply it to each claim. There's coverages that are considered. There's rules for that state if there's continuous and other type of things that are involved. So we've been hearing more and more about it, and I think people are hearing it more out there. So I thought it'd be real interesting to ask you that.
Yeah. People often ask me, what is an insurance company? What is a homeowner's policy? People often ask me, well, I have an insurance company. People often ask me, well, I have insurance. Why don't they just cover my claim? And I have to dive into it a little bit more and say that it's a very detailed contractual obligation the insurance companies have, and it's sometimes they cover this, but they don't cover this, and it's not as straightforward. And that's really what we're here for, is we'll go through and do a deep dive into your policy and see exactly what covers and what is not covered under your policy, and help find you an avenue through the best for the best financial outcome of your claim. You want to answer? You want to do the same thing?
Yeah.
What did I ask?
I think, what is a homeowner's?
Ken, will you tell us? No, not what is a homeowner's policy. I guess what I'm trying to ask it in this, because I'm going to use them for like reels and Insta shorts, and actually I'm going to try some YouTube shorts too. I kind of want that catch, so I want them to be caught within 5 or 10 seconds.
Like, what is your homeowner's policy? What is your homeowner's policy all about, or
does my homeowner's policy cover everything?
Yeah.
Okay. Hey Ken, so does my homeowner's insurance policy cover everything? Anything that would happen to my home?
No, that's a misperception that people think. They buy insurance, so they think they're fully covered and comprehensive. Actually, your limits are what they call a declaration page, which tells us what your limits are for each coverage, your dwelling, your additional structures, and your loss of use and your personal property and whatnot. But the actual policy is probably about 30 to 40 pages long of real detailed definitions, agreements about what those mean and what each coverage really is limited to and excludes. And it's very, very vast. It's not cut and dry. We will read the policy for you and determine what those are, especially in every situation. Every policy is different. So you can have a neighbor down the street with the same insurance company, and that policy is completely different. It depends upon when they bought the policy, what endorsements were put on the policy. Endorsements are special changes that make that policy a little different. And so reading each policy and how that applies to a claim is essential, because I get a lot of calls from people and say, I assumed my insurance company would do X, Y, or Z, and it's much different than that when you really read the contract. What it covers.
There was another one that right before you finished.
These are great.
That was. People ask us, how do we negotiate their claims for a better settlement? And I think that there's, I think I googled it out.
I'll ask that for you.
Okay.
So people ask us all the time, how do you settle claims? Can you tell us a little bit about that settlement negotiating process and how it works?
Absolutely. I think there's a lot of components to that. One would be the accurate documentation that we utilize. There's also the utilization of Xactimate and making sure that we're getting the best benefit and utilizing Xactimate as best as possible for that specific claim. And sometimes it really doesn't work, and sometimes we have to bring in contractors and find sub-bids for specialty work and reach out and find material pricing and adjust things. So we've got documentation, we've got the utilization of Xactimate, and then also just the knowledge around insurance policy and coverages. There's so many hidden policy coverages within most homeowners policies, and a lot of the times they're missed. You know, they don't realize that there might be a fair rental value cash out opportunity. So that means that instead of renting a property, you might be able to actually just be paid out whatever the fair rental value is on your property. Or there's some code upgrade coverage on your policy. So now you have to go back with fire sprinklers in your home, and that's another thing for us to capture. So it's really just having a wide knowledge of the entire claims process. How about this? What if I ask you, why go with a public adjuster versus trusting the insurance?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Hey, Ken, so why go with a public adjuster as opposed to just working with your insurance company? Oh, shit. Yeah, okay. Hey, Ken, so why go with a public adjuster versus just working with your insurance company directly?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I asked this question to some clients, and it's very hard for them to answer. I said, if the insurance company gave you a certain amount of money, how would you know if that's a fair settlement? It's a very difficult answer to that question. And we make sure that that amount is what you're supposed to get. We maximize what you're supposed to get per the policy. The policy is very difficult to read. It's a contract of probably 30 to 40 pages of details. And a public adjuster makes sure that all of those line up and those numbers make sense to the market, to the insurance company. And that's how, in my opinion, a public adjuster would be the best, because you wouldn't know even if they offer it to you. I have a whole team that you helped us put together to help me determine that. No one person will know. I think we've seen time and time again where if I asked you, they're getting an amount, you can kind of know if they're in the ballpark, but we don't know until we start really getting an Xactimate estimate and getting our team together. We read the policy. Was this fair? Did they miss something? And so, the best way to know is have a public adjuster look at it. They're trained at it. I've been doing this for years. You've been doing it for years. We've seen thousands of claims, and it takes work. At the end of the day, it's not a spitball or ballpark. It takes a detail of everything. Is that about right?
Would you want to ask me the same thing?
Yeah. What was your question?
Why hire a public adjuster versus you work directly with the insurance companies?
Okay. So, Dave, why go with a public adjuster and not? Oh, I get it. Yeah. Okay. So, Dave, why hire a public adjuster instead of just trusting what the insurance company tells you is fair? What's the advantage?
I think it's looking at the situation. I mean, you are now trusting the payout from a company whose sole purpose is to withhold payments on claims. If you look at an insurance company as a whole, if they make $1 on premiums and then pay $1.10 out on claims, they're losing money and they can't operate on it. And this is just the fact of the matter. It's not to discredit or say that they're doing this in a malicious fashion, but it's that if you don't have someone that's going to look at this with a fine-tooth comb and very detail-oriented and really rip apart the situation and say, okay, hey, how much is this claim really, really worth? Then you potentially are losing out on thousands and thousands, tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars that are owed to you for that claim.
Yeah. Great.
Do you want to do that one again? I like that. Do you want to try and speak on it again?
Speak it again?
Yeah. Do you have another way to speak to it?
Yeah. I was actually going to add, I was going to add something and I just thought of something else. Well, this is the why use a public adjuster.
Yeah, or just why use a public adjuster versus trusting your insurance
Trusting
company.
insurance
It's really
company.
just,
Yeah.
you want to do insurance
Yeah,
101?
yeah, we can do that. Let's do that again. Go ahead.
Okay.
Or
So-
another, like a part 2.
Okay. So, Ken, so why hire a public adjuster versus trust and just work directly with the insurance company?
Yeah, it's a good question. So insurance companies are there mainly to pay out as little as possible. That's how they make sure their loss ratios are down. They are very strict with what they pay out. They're not there to make sure that you necessarily get a fair settlement. They're there to kind of almost give you what they can get away with. And a public adjuster is there to make sure that you get what you're supposed to, make sure the insurance companies are applying the policy correctly, make sure that you're getting the proper estimate to the market, make sure your coverages are in line with what everything this claim has to offer. And insurance companies really not that way. And how would you know if it's not there? You just, a lot of clients say, well, I don't feel the insurance company is paying me, but they have no idea how. They may have an instinct to it, but public adjuster is going to make sure and get down into the details of making sure the insurance company is giving you what you're supposed to. I ask this question all the time. If an insurance company is going to give you a certain amount, how would you know it's fair or not? Very difficult to answer without a team like ours, public adjuster behind it, going, yep, this all makes sense. Let's submit our own estimate. Make sure that's in line with your policy, and that's the best way to make sure that your claim is handled in a way that the insurance company was fair with you. You don't, I always call it, the wolf, watching over the sheep. If you trust your insurance company, you're kind of putting yourself, in a second place instead of allowing you to be first place, which is having a public adjuster say, you know what, this is our client. We're going to look at everything that is an advantage for them in the policy and claim. Insurance company's not really doing that. They're not there to legally screw you, but in things that they can get away with, they will. It's just nature of the business.
I like that. I'm gonna try that again. Actually, I'm just gonna ask it to
Want me to ask
myself and see. I'm gonna ask it to myself and see. And just see what.
I'll ask.
Okay.
So, Dave, tell us why you would hire a public adjuster instead of just trusting your insurance company and the insurance company's adjuster. What's the difference?
I think you're just putting a lot of trust in companies whose sole fiduciary responsibility, I guess, is to either stakeholders or. No, that's not where I wanted to go with it. I really want to speak to the entire situation is just for an individual to get fucking screwed. From, no offense, agencies to, loss ratios. I just don't want to completely
rail on them.
Yeah, I'd rather rail on just the carriers themselves.
Well, you don't even need to rail on a carrier. The business industry in and of itself is weird. You're buying a product that when you make a claim, you're actually in an adversarial stance with your own insurance company. It's a weird thing. Don't get me wrong. You run into good.
Why don't you say that?
Okay.
Yeah. Hey, Ken, so why hire a public adjuster versus just work directly with your insurance company?
So one very good reason is that as soon as you make a claim, you're almost in an adversarial stance with your insurance company. They're great when they're taking your money. They're fantastic to send you that notice as soon as you're a day late on your premium. But as soon as you make a claim, they're not your friend. And people find that out right away, from their tone to the amounts they give you to all kinds of things. And so making sure that you have someone on your side, an advocate on your side, is what the number one thing a public adjuster does for you. And a lot of people find out that their insurance company is just not really what they thought they would be when they make a claim. They're almost against you, and there's certain laws that make them not against you, but if they could, and we know from experience, they pay you nothing if they could. Yeah. If they can there were times in the history of insurance where there was just really a lot of fraud from insurance companies where they just denied claims and didn't pay, because if they can get away with it, they would.
Yeah. How do we get paid?
A free review of your policy is a good one.
Free review of the policy. What was the other one I wanted to touch on that's like so fresh in everybody is the what's happening with the insurance companies right now.
Yeah.
People ask, why is my insurance rate going up so high? Why am I paying so much in premiums? And I think there's a lot to be answered and addressed in California right now. And the big thing is that we've had a lot of natural disasters recently. We've had a couple of years with a crazy amount of inflation that has not offsetted premiums. And a lot of these insurance companies also have insurance companies for them. So you've got, if ABC Insurance Company pays out on a natural disaster $2 billion, they actually have another insurance company that pays everything above these higher dollar amounts. And what's happened in California is the Department of Insurance has stopped allowing them to increase their rates. And so that's why a lot of these insurance companies are saying, well, hey, if we can't increase our rates, we can't do business in California anymore.
Yeah. So in order to have a free market in the
Let me ask you, and that's a great one,
yeah.
actually. Hey, Ken, so what is going on with all the insurance companies in California? Are they leaving, or what are your thoughts?
Very complicated question. It's something that I would say the Department of Insurance here in California has their hands full. There is a situation where the industry has changed because of inflation, and it hit all at once. It wasn't incremental. They weren't prepared for that. Rates were based upon a completely different actuarial table that was, I would say, antiquated, kind of older. And then there's these natural disasters that happen, which put insurance companies square in the face with, thousands and thousands of claims that they didn't participate in. You had COVID in the auto insurance world where the loss ratios rose, believe it or not. If you speak to a lot of claims people, management in auto insurance companies, they said the claims actually went up during COVID, not down. And you'd say, well, how could claims go up when there's less people on the road? What happens with human nature is when there's less people on the road, you actually drive faster. So there's actually more fatalities and accidents that happen during COVID with the lockdowns and people being at home than you did when there's full traffic, when you really can't go anywhere. So it actually has the opposite effect. Insurance companies bore the brunt of that. They were completely not prepared for that. Every person that was a professional thought loss ratios were going to come plummeting because there's less people on the road. It was completely opposite. It was unbelievable the amount of higher claims that happen in California when property. You have these natural disasters. You also had a hurricane that hit California, which is, when a hurricane hits California, not to belittle what happens in Florida, but there's a lot more land that it affects, and there's a lot more homes. And we're not ready for that either. So we don't have, battering down the windows and tarping and all kinds of things. We just sat there and stared at a hurricane hit us, and the insurance companies bore the brunt of that. So the Department of Insurance here has a very tough job of keeping the insurance companies interested in being here, letting them charge what they want, letting competition drive rates down so that we have a vibrant market. And, it's a big challenge. I don't criticize anyone that's in the department because of how difficult it is. I can't imagine what they're going through, but it's driving rates up. So what happens is when an insurance company stops writing business in California, the other companies that are left are saying, well, since there's no other competition, I'm just going to raise rates because they have nowhere to go except for a state plan called the Fair Plan here in California. That's not very attractive. It's limited coverage. It's very expensive. So the other insurance companies just raise their rates. And then when they decide to get out, you're only left with one or two carriers. It just drives it all up. Hopefully they'll be working on it. I think a recent memo from the Department of Insurance head there said that they're going to be working on getting an easier rate acceptance procedure so that rates can basically be more fluid, so that eventually competition will bring it down. More insurance companies will want to be here, and hopefully that'll flatten out. We're a big state. There's a lot of business here. There's a lot of good insurance carriers that would like to be here. They just need a little bit time to navigate this new world we're in, which is an inflationary world, a world where these wildfires were out of control. Climate change is affecting it, no matter what you want to say. The shores, I was in La Jolla, and they have these thing called the King
Swells.
King Swells, and those went from, I think it was every 4 months to every 4 days. So these swells that affect the whole shore for miles and miles and miles are not there, and it's eroding piers that are there. So there's a lot the insurance companies have to deal with at once. Insurance companies they're not great when there's this, huge thing. You mentioned reinsurance. Reinsurers are insurance companies that insure insurance companies. It's like, and though their rates have gone up because they're handling catastrophic losses, and so their rates have gone up. So an insurance company's rate when they're buying insurance, they went up, so they have to pass that cost down. It's a very, very difficult season we're in here in California, and I think they'll get through it. We're a great state, and I think that they're going to make some big changes to help the consumer. How do you like that one?
I like it, but we got to shorten it.
Okay. Sorry.
So
okay, that's right. That's right. See, I just
no. Well, because reality is, I can probably use some of it,
Yeah.
But it's probably too long.
Right.
Truthfully.
Okay.
What was the question I asked you? Is why are my insurance premiums increasing in California? So let's try it again, and then I'm trying to keep it like 30 seconds.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay.
Sorry.
Hey Ken, so why are my insurance premiums getting skyrocketing in California? Hold on, that was stupid. Hey Ken, why are my insurance premiums skyrocketing in California?
California's going through a lot. The inflation that has hit was kind of automatic and really quick right after COVID. Insurance companies aren't prepared for that kind of inflation hitting right at once. Also, there's a lot of natural disasters that California is not prepared for. They weren't prepared for climate change affecting massive wildfires all over. We have these king swells that are hitting. They used to hit every 4 months. They're hitting every 4 days. The insurance companies have a mammoth job in keeping your rates down, and they just haven't been able to catch up. And they'll be making adjustments over the years. I think you'll see a little plateau at some point, but that's why they're going up. A lot of insurance companies are choosing not to be in the state.
Okay.
Close. Want me to ask you something?
Yeah, hold on, I just want to make sure.
Hey, man.
I just don't want to miss Bruce if he shows up.
Yeah, Bruce is here.
Oh, he is?
I just
Oh,
walked
okay.
into the
Okay.
restroom.
Oh, yeah, that's what I figured.
Hello,
Yeah, bring him in.
man.